shadowboxing. You're live. It says. I can barely see the screen. This is the this is a laptop. I don't know what happened to the little holder for the camera. The usual camera. But this is live now. So live boxing. This is shadow boxing. Shadow boxing. People don't realize they would, especially women, do not realize that they would love shadow boxing. Even fighters don't realize that they would love shadow boxing more because try it with gloves on. Excuse me. So I forgot. Shadow boxing is not conducive to the page. This is from Weathersfield too. WFSB, please fix the fake communications you have with me. It's recorded, hyper recorded. There's a hyper way to show. There's hyper evidential. But retired and standing are used remotely. Certain type of victim slash hyper victim never learn as each modern country voices for the lost physics, for lost nature, and for lost identity. Now distinctly and simultaneously we are. Therefore, hyper simultaneously too. Because there is one thing about that we can't be, and the other species bodies can't be. But we are that anyway. We are Earth's different additional reason. We are Earth's additional value, and it is additional value to us. Automatically temporary positive. Automatically temporary positive to it forever. But increasingly, more and more positive or negative. It's hyper native system too. The hyper simultaneous is hyper native because, unlike, for example, the other species bodies, only humanity is criminally foreign influence. So I'm being extorted and worse, but it is recorded not just against me. This is a method that effectively employed and already where relative to where it is also simultaneously multi-front employing roles with instances with all sides in criminal and in civil cases and with victims advocates, names of the courts, forging names switch. This is to the relativity of how the suburbs were designed with slavery entrenched north and south before our founders were born. Instead of communicating with our founders who had to communicate, who had to counter extort the other founders about that, that is being used to measure and maintain who's not going to be roles with that fake freedom, that fake use of America's name, the fake use of difference, as those with the knee taking or push down the flag, and or the ones countering. Leave out exception nature. Leave out how identity works. Because you ask for child abuse. Because these are simple means by correlation. If you take honestly what it means, Marbury versus Madison, and the Constitution on the bridge simultaneously, relative to logic's voice slash voicing. See, we are a volume science. Black pupils, whites of eyes, exceptions in exception nature. Yeah, that was never brought up not just my campus. It's manifest because other was in place. That's our founders communicated for us to say how they employed natural difference slash S to mean other things, and to employ the word that would cause to keep blamed on other things other than ourselves, what nature's demonstrating to us. For example, there's a breaching method involved here with American history, hyper invisible but still discernible. Hyperconjunction to all the negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures that we agree. With our countries, modern countries are in a semi-ancient trap. Semi-ancient countries first. Now it's even perfected. You knew they would have to counter things like criminal foreign influences, like criminal insidiousness, by countering groups like criminal enterprises run, while still know how they make economic treatments. Everyone, leaving out how our founders communicated for us those were part of a torture method. Washington told us to speak about not just the slavery of our founders, who had to counter extort the other founders. When you have to counter extort the other founders, why? Has to do with some of the laws, uses of those laws, a part of a torture, extortion, slavery method. Now, see where and how it employed the truth of slavery distinctly in the North and the South. That was before our founders were born. The suburbs were designed and so control the line. Boxing. Back to shadow boxing. When you work out, it's like the old expression, don't chew gum. In other words, there was the juxtaposition. There was a nature of contemplation that has now been employed through what we know unnatural. Natural only as criminal insidiousness. I am not a lawyer, not a police form. They are certain types of victims. Increasingly, that's why they have recruitment problems, and or the people recruiting too. That's why how they stay each identity of expert originally and still voicings that can't defend their nature of logic, their fact, nature, quality aspects of nature, and identity therefore names uses and afford short words in nature of calmness and or of the other emotions or descriptions of them like aggression with speech relative to how they get away with leaving out all the revelations that come with where how simultaneously left out and replaced is what is actually communicated by nature and wise and smart for each age of correlation nature. What each age's correlation nature is actually capable of understanding and communicating. It relies. This is where we self-value where and how everyone had the same enemy. And it's evidence where and how that's not self-value because no one understands it because it has been using even countries grouped their identities there, keep them tortured all kinds of ways. They have CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News reported, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, having been influenced by their sources. They don't know the extent of it. Like WFSB, the differences between them is they use their locations. They use roles with predicate acts with facts and communications relative to that, with and as identity theft, fraud, slander roles, with people that don't even know each other. Use the exceptions where they can't be honest about what was really going on there. They cannot afford identities of relationship to our natural system that is hypernative. Feel the breeze, yeah. In other words, nature wants if If indeed deemed us to discern the increasing value of indigenous populations because of the roles of overt criminal enterprises, private and of the interbranch, not for the known reasons or discovered ones, not just for what they do with that, also used to maintain stream of courts, whole bunch of negative value nature progressions, action natures, originally and still effectively other roles in in other words, the human species body is a system individually grouped and finite, where each body has conjunction to that too finite, too small to fit, but it is the order of the finite. And we have only means to grapple with it one way, many prey, vaccines, and be might at the same time. We got to use empower. It's hard to thread a needle if you're shadowboxing. See, but nature could do better than that. If we correct its identity of relationship to itself and the value of that, we could do this with hyperpantheism rather than, we'll model it off to what I would have just modeled the Campus Martius and the ancient gaming system. I'll make that a part of it. If you guys, in other words, if you guys let me do let it do the exercise, that will, in other words, what is that exercise? Military exercise. If you're a country that has any missiles and things like that, and it's been through that much time, and we're still in the same in the suburbs, and you guys gotta wait. What they call debate is recorded effectively used by a breaching method distinctly from everyone our own using our own. That's used remotely too, but measured and maintained. Can't defend political logic, their sides, their uses of sides. The intelligence community, each age of fact should be nature. Overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and insidiousness of the logic of A through Z, not just relative to the known. We know they employ natures of employment that you know stuck collusion with that logic. That's reliant upon wars. Every time you summaries of wars, right there you can see defense self-valued roles with criminally foreign influence, fact, human nature, quality aspects, nature. Relevant to this, relevant to uses of that predicate act facts with facts delivery system method that replaced what nature communicates and what we're allowed to communicate because they're jumping into our communications. The news, they're planting predicate acts roles at crime scenes with all sides in criminal and civil cases, including in the World Trade Center attack context, with the Ninth Circuit Court right next to it. All sides in that case, and exceptions. People with the way they were set up that day with the girl might have been different than usual because they also post dated. It was proven after someone from inside that Ninth Circuit Court had post dated legal papers to make them appear as if they were late right before the World Trade Center attack. And there were other people the night before that involved and through who were also with extended cousins of theirs involved through the time with people putting predicate acts with facts with little tricks into databases as the interbranch rolls with uses of predicate acts with facts at the youngest stages where how other than either collusion with criminally foreign influence uses of the identities of the branches individually grouped in together and their worth. Our founders communicated for us to show where they are not worth anything and they're a tool of a breaching method and the exceptions. But you guys have the exceptions and the exception that you're being measured and maintained for your own motivations. You're stewards. And that manifests with your conviction nature, your opinion nature, your speculation nature. Unaddressed, so they have everyone's and they have description of it. See, this thing was had people employing descriptions of everything and everyone to measure and maintain. Not discern is like every campus I went to. The first campus I went to, it closed the next year. It was in Weathersfield. Oh, that was the second campus I went to. And then the third campus I went to, there's a Mark Violet who repeated the name Michael Greco. And there were more than one people with Michael Greco. And there are people with a name Harris. There were men and women involved with the intelligence community from off the campuses, influencing then and now. These are people further roles with the principal child abusers campus and uses of the kids in the family and other natures of ties to deans and principals, coaches, and where and how they have the breaching method used and used is functional. What it used, these are also roles with co-defendants of former director of the FBI, former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influence in Corrupt Organization Act, Robert Luskin. He's also recorded involved with names that have been posting on social media, who also have roles on off Central Connecticut State University with uses of the words like difference, where and how they have been roles with investigations, investigators, and interbranch locations used remotely since founding, timed roles with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and people tied together. How we have the same color, except for how we have different color eyes, black pupils. So it's way more extensive than this. How nature answers our questions, and how our founders did. But we have other communicators for our founders, including the difference between our founders who had to counter extort to other founders, as James Madison, as George Washington. But as they're really communicating, they had to hide their roles, their actual motivations for having had the audacity, I think. Excuse me. I cannot see the screen here. Where is the end? Thank you.